It is going! Yes! Yes!
Well, that was fun. That was really, really fun. I watched Starship's test flight like 5 times last night. I'm probably going to watch it 5 times again today. That was spectacular. It was literally a spectacle. It just blew me away. I hope you watched it. If you haven't watched it, make sure you see it. I'm going to go through a lot of it in this video and show you some little details and tell you why it's important. First and foremost, it's important because we're going to Mars. I'm so stoked because the t-shirts came in. I just created 2 new Starship t-shirts. I'm so stoked. I'm so excited. I'm wearing my Starship t-shirts. I'm loving it. But this was spectacular. This was amazing. I'm going to go through some of the details of this launch and talk about why this is important. Number one, this means we're going to Mars. Humans are going to Mars, and it's going to happen fast. This is coming a lot faster than people realize. This is going to blow everyone away. This is just stunning. This was a spectacular test flight launch. Even the landing was probably more spectacular than if it had actually landed correctly. This was just wonderful. Of course, I'd like to thank Bradford Ferguson of Halter Ferguson Financial and all my Patreon supporters for helping this channel grow. It gives me the chance to try different things, to experiment, see what works, and improve the quality of what I'm doing. You can support this channel at Patreon. Links are below. Links to the t-shirts are also below. So let's go through it bit by bit. Are you ready? Let's go! The first thing is we need to understand why Starship is so important. The cost of launching payloads to orbit, going to Mars, going to the moon, whatever, is very, very expensive because every time we launch something, we lose the rocket. We lose some part of the rocket. It used to be we'd lose everything. Now we lose everything. Now at least we're saving the booster on Falcon 9, but with Starship, we'll be able to recover the second stage, and it just makes launch costs so much less. It takes launch costs from thousands of dollars a kilogram to tens of dollars a kilogram, or even below $10 a kilogram. It's a massive, massive reduction in cost. And that's why what's happening here, what's happening in these launches matters so much. Because if SpaceX is able to get Starship to come out of orbit, use the Earth's atmosphere to slow down, and then do this belly flop maneuver and come down and flip and land, it means we save so much money and we're able to do so much more in space. So this test launch, there was an attempt 2 days ago.
Minus 13 seconds. 4. And it's resumed from 13 seconds to minus 10 seconds and counting on their stream.
And then yesterday, they had to hold the launch because some airplane got too close to the launch area. But they finally were able to pull it off. It went up. And I'm going to go through bit by bit here. But this was just fantastic. Let's start with the 10-second countdown and the beginning of the launch. Watch.
10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have liftoff. Triage alarms.
Okay, so obviously in the big window on the left, you see the Starship going up. In the lower right corner, you see the 3 Raptor engines all firing, and you might notice them moving a little bit back and forth. That's called gimbaling. That helps direct which way the rocket goes. In the upper right, you can see from the top of the rocket looking down, you're going to see back to Earth, and that picture is going to get better over time. For the video on the left showing Starship going up, it's going fast, it's going up high, it's distant from the camera, so it's hard for cameras to track that motion, so you will see some jittery camera shots. That's normal. A lot of the time, if you look close at Starship, and I'm showing this close-up here, you can see 3 dots. That's where the Raptors are. That's where the engines are. Pretty cool. And coming up, one of the Raptors is going to cut out. It's on purpose. It's a little fun to watch. Okay, so in the lower right corner, the engines are going to move around a bit. There's going to be some flames. It's a little bit fun, but it's okay. So that looked a little scary. It looked like maybe an engine failed. It was all according to plan. Everything went great. Maybe the flames were a little much, but that's what it was supposed to do. Tim Dodd asked Elon if that was intentional, and Elon said yes, and the engines did great. In all 3 windows, you're going to be seeing now that the rocket is turning. In the lower right video in particular, you can see that what's below the rocket shifts. It turns out from the land out into the Gulf of Mexico, onto the water. One of the striking things about this test flight is when you're used to watching Falcon 9 launches, it's a different experience because the Falcon 9 is powered by a booster. And the booster accelerates it really fast. It goes really, really fast up, and then the booster cuts out and it switches to the second stage. In this test flight, they went from 3 engines to 2 engines, and we're in an extended period of 2 engines, and then down to 1 engine is coming. And it doesn't seem to be going as fast, because it's not going as fast, because that's not what they're trying to do. Next up, we're going to have a second engine cut out. It's planned. It's a little less dramatic than the first one, and then it's going to coast, and it's going to seem like it's not even going up anymore. I'm not sure it is going up anymore. It's almost like it's hovering. Okay, so now we're going to be in this extended period where it's hovering on 1 engine. One of the things that I think is really interesting here is if you look at that engine and you look at the plume coming out from under it, I think Starship has reached high enough up, about 12 kilometers in the atmosphere, that the atmosphere has thinned a little bit and the plume is a little less tight because there's less atmosphere fighting it. The air is a little bit less dense. Another thing I don't really understand is there's this smoke trail that's now visible. I think what's happening is the rocket is not really moving very fast. So normally it leaves the smoke far behind it as it moves quickly away when you see a rocket launch. And now I think it's just not moving that fast, so the smoke just doesn't... It just moves in a different pattern. It's just basically blowing to the side. Or the rocket is moving sideways a bit, and so that's what we're seeing instead of the smoke trail being left directly behind. Or maybe it's gases venting, or maybe it's some kind of condensation. I'm actually not sure. Okay, big moment coming up here. The engine is going to cut out, and it's going to flip, and it's going to start coasting down. This is fun to watch. That moment was so amazing. I want to go through it again at least one more time, maybe twice. Watch this. The lower right camera switches from the engine bay up, looking up at the upper fin in the sky. In the lower right corner and on the left, you can see the cold gas thrusters jetting little plumes of smoke that are helping orient the rocket. And let's do that again real quick. On the right side, on both windows, you can see the fins adjusting to help the rocket take its position in the belly flop. So now we're in this 1 minute or so window where the rocket is falling, It's basically become a glider, and it's this belly flop maneuver where it's sort of floating down somewhat gracefully from 12 kilometers, and in about a minute or a little more than a minute, it reaches Earth, and it's out over the Gulf, and it's gliding back towards Boca Chica to where its landing zone is. It was really amazing to me how stable this descent was. You don't even see a lot of movement from the fins. Every once in a while you see a little wiggle, but not a lot of movement. This was just a really stable, gentle descent. Very impressive. And then it all starts to happen pretty fast. In the upper right corner, you'll see the Earth starting to come into view. In the main window, you're going to start to see Starship fall through a cloud, and then it really gets going. Okay, looking at that last bit again in half speed, you can see that the two engines relight, and then it flips, and you can actually see the ground coming into view in the upper right corner. And as it's lighting, you can see the engines gimbling and even see the thrusters change direction quite a bit. And then the bad moment you know something's wrong is when you see the green color in the exhaust, in the plume. That color tells you there's something wrong with what the rocket is burning. And then, well, Starship go boom. Now, I'm sure there'll be some negative media stories today saying what a disaster this was. This was an amazing success. This is the first significant flight for Starship where it went way up and it came down and it did almost everything right. There were so many things that could go wrong that didn't go wrong. So many things went well as expected. This was spectacular, wonderful, a great step forward. And what we're going to see now is further testing. SN9, Starship serial number 9, is going to be coming out to the pad very soon. Probably going to do another test launch before the end of this year. And there's a series more Starships coming. Starship serial number 15 is going to be a massive improvement. We don't know what the improvements are, but there's going to be some radical improvements in serial number 15. There's so much coming. Elon tweeted later that the Starship did not stick the landing because there was low pressure in the header tank. That's the tank at the top of Starship. They hold the fuel in that tank at full pressure to use it for the landing burn. So for some reason, that tank did not have adequate pressure, and that's something they're going to have to fix for next time. But if that's the only thing they got to fix, that's great. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other adjustments that need to be made, but this was great. RUD, by the way, means Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly. Basically, Starship followed a litho-braking maneuver. It stopped by hitting the Earth, and that led to a rapid unscheduled disassembly. It disassembled itself quickly, and it wasn't on schedule. It wasn't scheduled to disassemble, it was supposed to land. So what does this mean? This means Starship is making great progress, and that gets us to the point where we're able to achieve dramatically lower cost of getting payloads to orbit and payloads to other destinations like the moon and Mars. Mars. Starship is going to Mars. Mars. Starship is going to Mars. For more on why Starship lowers the cost of getting payloads into orbit, to the moon and Mars, check out this video here. Please support this channel on Patreon, join the YouTube channel, or buy the merch. Links are in the video description below. I'd like to thank my friend Joe Ramos for supporting this channel as our sponsor, and thank you very much for watching.